You have a wig too?
I'm so sorry. Joe!
Yeah, see Tiny Joey Pigtails there, laid out as if somebody body slammed him? That's me on Monday at about 7:30 p.m. How did I end up like this, face down on the felt, you might ask? Well, it's a story for sure. Greetings, humans. Joey Pigtails here, and this is vlog number 44, titled A Series of Unfortunate Events. I know I've used the term no bad beat stories, but I need to talk through a lot of this and get it out of my system, so I appreciate you listening. I'll be going through the series of unfortunate events this last weekend, leading up to Monday where the hands will start. What I am sharing with you here is very personal. I'm going to be talking about emotions, some sensitive topics, and giving you a glimpse into my mindset and struggles, so please be kind. Firstly, if you enjoy what you see here, make sure you're subbed and hit the like button as I'm getting really close to being monetized. Also, Super Chats are now active, so if you want to help support my efforts, that's the easiest way where I get the highest percentage. So in vlog 43 that premiered last Friday on YouTube around noon, I said this. If you happen to watch this video during the premiere, know that I am literally heading to Orange City right now to record the next vlog. Well, I almost got there. However, fate had other plans. About 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I left for Orange City and I blew the engine in my Mustang. I had to wait a couple of hours for the tow truck and then went back to the house to clean up before following through on my plan to play. I did eventually make it to Orange City around 5 p.m. Friday and played until about 2 a.m. I pulled the camera out to record at the start, but put it away shortly after. I just wasn't feeling it. That session Friday ended up on a sour note, with me losing 3 buy-ins total after a pretty sick cooler late. I got sleep that night and then drove to Daytona on Saturday to play the $300 PLO event that started at 2 p.m., where I fired a bunch of bullets but came up short in the end. I left there about 8 p.m. and went to a private game where another 3 buy-ins went out the window, where I just couldn't connect with any flops and couldn't get action on the few hands I did manage to make. I left that game as the sun was rising, feeling pretty dejected at the series of unfortunate events unfolding. It just seemed like a lot of things that could go wrong did go wrong. The drive was about 30 minutes, and I thought about those events almost the whole way. I say almost the whole way because I knew there was another tournament on Sunday in Daytona, and I still had a buy-in in my pocket, so I went and got a good 6 hours of sleep and planned to max late reg the 50K guarantee, which started at 4 o'clock on Sunday. I followed that plan, arriving in Daytona with about 15 minutes to spare. For those of you that have played with me, you know that most of the time I'm pretty happy-go-lucky and relatively bubbly, and interacting with me is usually like that. I ran into another human who was also like this, but this time it was different. This person just got knocked out of that tournament in pretty brutal fashion, so when I ran into them and said hello, they apologized and said they were super tilted, needed to go think for a bit. I don't blame them, I've been there. I wished them well and went on my way. It also seemed like all of the conversations I overheard along the way were bad beat stories. Not a single suck-out story to be heard. Signs are signs, and maybe I should have listened to these. I bought in right after the break started, fulfilling my plan to max late reg. I found my seat and settled in for what I hoped was a long tournament session, but sadly, I promptly exited the tournament area 3 hands later. Yep, I lasted 3 hands. I looked down at ace-king of clubs and lost 70% of my stack the first hand, then shipped a pocket pair in the third hand, only to run into a bigger one and get stacked. Most of you have seen me take some pretty horrific beats throughout the years, and I sort of pride myself in being able to control my emotions and be professional in these high-stress situations. I did the same thing right here, uttering, "and so it goes," as I stepped away from the table. Kudos if you get that reference, by the way, but honestly, I was not okay in that moment. I'd been having a few text conversations during this time, so I started sending out the bad news as I walked towards the front of the building. I stopped for a couple of minutes at the entrance, just sort of numb and needing to hit the pause button. My fingers hovered over the letters on my phone, shaking slightly from the rush of adrenaline as I attempted to process all the negative emotions this series of unfortunate events had dredged up in me. As I stood there, almost paralyzed by the feelings and thoughts, I was shaken back to reality as another player burst past me, yelling about some beat he just took as he walked outside, where he yelled some more at the sky, cursing the poker gods for their unjust decisions. I let out a little chuckle at this behavior and thought to myself, if you only knew, my friend, if you only knew. I considered this behavior for a couple of minutes. Wow, does it actually feel good to just rage like that? Could I or would I feel better if I projected those emotions into some sort of rage and pushed a door a little too hard, maybe kicked over a trash can or threw a parking cone into a pond, or just screamed at the sky for a few minutes? Does that work? I've always been the type to internalize my emotions and then process them later, usually through walking or jogging while shutting off all the external stimuli and just thinking, sort of like I was doing as I wrote down all these thoughts to be able to share them with you now. I left Daytona a few minutes later and drove home in silence. That silence was both deafening and welcoming. I needed that time to process my emotions, because right then and there, I had to reconcile the outcomes I experienced with the decisions I had made leading to those outcomes, and come to terms with the fact that it was simply a new beginning. I was here, right now. I have what I have, and I have options and opportunities and skills. Tomorrow was a new day, and I still needed to record some footage for the vlog, right? I slept about 12 hours Sunday night and woke up refreshed. But I had this battle raging in my head. I've talked before about experiencing depression and anxiety and how those conditions can become paralyzing and prevent me from doing what I do. I've also talked about the fact that I'm currently in the best physical shape of my life, and even through all this stress, I'm actually in a great mental space, all things considered. I'd even go as far as to say I've never felt better than I feel right now, psychologically speaking. So this battle I'm fighting mentally is between these two mindsets, one where I continue to eat well, get my steps in, lift a few days a week, and enjoy social time with my kiddo and friends, ultimately leading to feeling absolutely fantastic, and the other where this cloud of doom and gloom and negative thoughts is trying to come in and smother me like a weighted blanket. That battle is constant at this point and only seems to rage more and more with every subsequent beat. I'm still winning this battle, and I'm more determined than ever to continue to be successful in this arena, but it's hard constantly being at war with myself, if any of you can relate to that. I rolled into Orange City on Monday to record a cash session and played for about 3 hours, winning one hand of significance before arriving here. What the hell, Alyssa? Why are you treating Tiny Joey Pigtails like he's a voodoo doll? You just laid the smackdown on my little man. Why? If that isn't a sign to get off that table as quickly as possible, I don't know what is. You saw me fail to read these subjective and irrational signs earlier for what they were, but I listened this time. I got my ass up, down about $125 on the session, and left that table. But I wasn't done yet. Tiny Joey Pigtails deserves some redemption. I walked over and registered for the $100 no-limit hold'em bomb pot tournament that happens every Tuesday night in Orange City. I needed a change, and I knew that I'd at least have fun playing this tournament, so I fired it. If you were ever interested in learning about strategy concepts for no-limit hold'em bomb pots, I'm going to go so far as to say this video will be the original reference point. I'm going to give you everything I've got in each of these spots, and I hope you'll feel comfortable playing one of these events when it's said and done. So how did it go? Did I manage to book a win on the night? Check this out. Real quick, humans, this is a no-limit hold'em double board bomb pot tournament. Starting stack is 20,000, levels are 20 minutes, and initial antes are 200, although for this hand it's 300. Big pairs are huge in this game, as is overbet bluffing just about any and every street, so be aware that even at level 1, you're gonna see a lot of all-ins and your stack will be in play. I might have a few suits wrong on the graphics. I had a bad camera angle for a bit, and only got close-ups of a few hands, so please forgive me. I flop a set on the top board and employ the pull strategy and bet 1,000. I get one call before seat 5 min raises to 2,000 and it's folded back to me. I'm not sure what to make of this, but I know I can't win both boards at showdown, so I want multi-way action in case this gets chopped. I call and seat 4 calls. I turn a boat on top and check and flow to see a bet of 2k again. I call again trying not to discourage, but seat 4 folds. Oh, that sucks. I check the rivers, but in hindsight, I think a jam was in order to try and get a fold. My opponent has aces, so I'm not sure if he would have actually folded, but it would have been worth a try. We're at the 400 ante level. I'm being highly selective with the hands I continue with, overfolding quite a bit on the flops, which is why the blinds are climbing so fast. I flop equity on both boards here, second pair on top and bottom 2 pair on bottom. Note that both boards have an ace on them, which in this game makes it really hard for another player to have an ace at about 35% of the time. With that said, even if they have an ace, it would be hard to have a better 2 pair on bottom. When check 2, I bet 2,500. I want to build this pot to scoop it later. I get 2 calls from seat 7 and seat 8. Note also that seat 8 has been very aggressive with big hands on one board, so his limb call out of the small blind is weighted towards some sort of draw. The last 6 comes out on top giving me trips, and the bottom board is a 5. Seat 8 now open rips it, I snap call, and seat 7 folds. Seat 8 hit a straight on bottom with 9-7, but has nothing on top and no draw there. The river doesn't pair on bottom, so we end up chopping this up. A couple hands later, I flop top pair on top and top pair plus a flush draw on bottom. This hand is an absolute monster, possibly already being ahead, but having an opportunity to scoop even if I'm behind right now. I lead for 2,500 again, getting a call from seat 6 before seat 8 jams and covers me. Seat 9 now jams for less, and I'm not folding here. Seat 6 folds saying he had a queen, and oh, come on man, don't tell people their outs are gone. We get the pots right and see me bink the flush on the bottom on the turn, and apparently bink the last queen of the deck on top to scoop the main pot and shoot up to nearly 3 times starting stack. We're at the 600 ante level now. Blinds sure go up fast in this event. This is another spot where I flop equity on both boards, second pair on top and a straight on bottom. I lead for 4K when check 2. These guys are willing to get it in with really weak hands, so let's go already. Seat 8 and seat 1 both call. I hate the turn on bottom, but it's hard to have a boat in this game. It's check to seat 1 who jams, I jam over, and seat 9 makes the call too. I spike 2 pair on top on the river, but seat 1 has an ace 6 for a better 2 pair up there. I do however take the bottom board with the straight, so we chop this one up. I can't make out all the details on the cards on the boards here, but this hand highlights an important concept in No Limit Hold'em bomb pots, just like the last hand, that having equity on both boards is really hard in this format. When you arrive at these spots where you do, scooping is a possibility, especially if we find ourselves heads up. The flops are checked around here. I have a top pair of 9s on top and a gut shot to the sucker straight on the bottom. The turn brings in that straight on bottom, and I go ahead and lead for 7K, only getting 1 call from seat 3 on my left. I don't like the river on top, but the bottom is clean, so I bet another 15K and he makes the call. What did he have? He actually flopped 2 pair on bottom and nothing on top, so I end up scooping this spot with just a pair of 9s on the top board. We're never happy to see a garbage hand like this, but we should be incredibly excited to flop a boat with it. Being first to act, I want to pull, so I bet 5K into 9, and it's folded to seat 2, who now rips it for about 80,000. He's the second biggest stack here behind me, and I'm kind of baffled at what this could be. Seat 5 is all in for his last 1K, and never folding are the right words to describe my hand. Seat 2 has a straight on top. Alright, I guess that makes sense. And seat 5 has the other 4. At least I'm safe from doubling up that big stack and getting wrecked here. We get the pots right, and seat 5 nails that boat on top to take half of the main pot. I can't win them all, I suppose, but I still have a big stack, so let's go, baby. Shortly after that, we combine for the final table of 9 with antes at 2K. I flop a set of 6s on top, and take note that both boards have a queen on them, making a set of queens nearly impossible. It's checked around to me, and there are a few really short stacks at the table, so I bet 15K, near pot, getting calls from seat 6 and seat 9. The turns don't change much, and I want to pull both of these players to the rivers, so I bet 15K again when check 2. Seat 6 jams, seat 9 folds, and I call, and my opponent has a queen to take the other board as the rivers are clean. I don't flop much here, and check and flow to see seat 6 jam all in for his last 5,000, and then seat 9 goes all in for her last 2,000. Yeah, 2 of these players are severely short-stacked. Weird. Seat 1 and seat 2 call. I go ahead and call as well. I know it's marginal, but I'm getting a good price, and maybe I'll improve somewhere, right? Like maybe turning top set on bottom. It's checked to me, and I check this back in real time, but I think a small bet for value was in order, like 15K or so. I missed that value, though, with this check back. I boat the river and both players check to me. I bet 20k looking for some value, but everyone else folds. Seat 6 has a jack on top for half the side pot, and seat 9 has a jack as well, with neither of their kickers play. So I end up getting half of the main pot, and then those two players end up getting quartered, giving them a little bit of breathing room since they were the short stacks. Here's another spot where I flop equity on both boards. You know, we need a term for that. Something like double dipping. Let's call equity on both boards double dipping from now on, okay? I'm in early position and lead for 15k to see the next 3 players all in for 1k, 2k, and 3k respectively. Everyone else folds, and I then learn that none of these players have looked yet. Really? Okay then. I'm ahead on top, but I'm behind to a king on the bottom board. That is until a 3 shows up, giving me the same 2 pair on both boards, which is actually good enough for a triple knockout. We're down to 6 and close to the money, baby. Oh yeah. Having a king in hand would be a monster here, and oh look, I have it. I bet 15k on the flop, getting 2 calls. Now, take note of this. My king on bottom is basically irrelevant here. I cannot improve against a 7, so it only serves to better define our opponent's hands here. I'd expect pocket 4s to raise in this spot, so hopefully both of these guys have a 7 and I can chop one of them up. The turns come out, I bet 25k, and seat 6 jams, and the other guy ends up making the fold. Seat 6 had a 7 obviously, and we end up chopping this up. Antes went up again, 6k each now. Here's another example of double dipping. Come on humans, let's make this a thing. I'm double dipping with a pair on top and a queen high flush draw on bottom. I'm not made on bottom yet, so I check this back when check 2. I turn the flush on bottom and see a lead from seat 1 of 15k. I call as not to discourage others, but everyone else folds. The rivers don't change much, and now my opponent open jams. We're the 2 biggest stacks at the table, and what the hell, man? This is a great play if he's nutted on one board and naked on the other for sure. I lose to an ace high flush on bottom, and if behind there isn't much I lose to on top actually. The only hand I lose both boards and get scooped by is ace 10 of diamonds. It's the only combo that beats me. I put in the call, and my opponent has ace 6 of diamonds, so we chop this up. I hear a lot of you scoff at the concept of blockers in poker, but if you were ever looking for a spot where blockers actually matter, look no further. I found it, baby. And that was the last hand of significant action I recorded. Seats 9 and 3 ended up getting knocked out, and the 4 of us remaining chopped up the money evenly. Finally, after that horrendous weekend filled with a series of unfortunate events, I finally booked a win, chopping that event for a $600 profit. I wish I could put into words the sense of relief I felt getting past that variance bubble of run bad, even if the uptick is minuscule compared to the downswing. Coming from a tournament that presented numerous opportunities to just say fuck it and jam my stack in the middle, I was somehow able to find some patience and willpower to make correct decisions and hold out to book this win. I am planning to keep playing and vlogging, but I am branching back into a variety of things to make some coin on the side, including some business consulting on the marketing and operational side of things, and some PLO poker coaching. I also had a great conversation last weekend with Jim from Delaware North, and we'll be getting together soon to talk about some partnership opportunities. We talked briefly about some live streams and such, so cross your fingers. I'll be in Daytona on Sunday to play the 25k guaranteed tournament, and then I'll be back in Orange City on Monday to record during the big-ass high hand promotion and hopefully score one myself. Thanks for listening, peeps. I'm Joey Pigtails, and I am transparent, reminding you to be a good human. Bye.